Admiralty and maritime jurisdiction under international law is what they are operating under the war powers.
And I fear we're going to see this for the rest of our lives.
Yes.
And especially as we go to globalism, that's still going to be the rule.
Oh, yes. Most definitely, yes.
It's
all international.
Oh, it's, without
that. Any international law has to be under maritime.
Okay.
No matter what. Going back to Pardiseus, to the Romans, to England, it all emanated from Hammurabi, 4000 BC.
And so we have come full circle.
Yes, we've come full circle. Yes. And it was only through the Admiralty Maritime, because when you look at Title 28, in the very beginning, which nobody bothers to go in, all the prefaces in the very beginning of Title 28, it all says, stares you right in the face, this is an Admiralty document. Title 28 is straight Admiralty. When you get into Title 24, or I'm saying Title 26, that's all Admiralty. All revenue is Admiralty. Maritime. Now, when you get into Title 28 and you go to 2460 to 2465, when you read in there, one of the sections is 2465, it says it must be as near as Admiralty as can be.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because Admiralty has two sides to it. You have the criminal side, which is the Admiralty first instance prize and capture, who then, after you get into the Admiralty court, reverts to the civil side. And it'll tell you that right in the rules.
Okay.
And in fact, in the cases in the book that I had put in there, in the New History of America, you'll see I used the two cases, a Ford and a 1962 Chevrolet or something like that. There's two separate cases, and they tell you right in there that they were seized under Admiralty principles and then reverted to the civil side of Admiralty in the federal court.
Actually, if people would check certain sections of what's called the classifieds,
right,
you will find, I guess, on the seizures and such and auctions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The IRS always has to put it in there,
Yeah, and it's under Admiralty law. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
Yep. And everybody can check their own daily newspapers. I mean, the bigger ones, like the Tavish Tribune here, will definitely show that. And it's a hoot. Yeah, it's definitely mentioned.
Especially like, you get the Philadelphia Inquirer, the New York Times, the Charleston paper down in South Carolina there. I mean, they're all port towns.
Yep.
So they have a much more of a chance of seeing it there. And any IRS that puts a seizure in it must be in Admiralty and satisfy all the procedures that must go through, even to the U.S. Marshals, because the U.S. Marshals are governed by Admiralty and Maritime. And that's why U.S. Marshals, when they seize a boat from a millionaire or something, they have to have a bond. And they're bonded under maritime principles to operate, to seize that ship under Admiralty law.
Yep. We can't make this stuff up.
No, you can't.
It's amazing.
It's there for everybody to see, but most people are not educated enough to begin with to know this. And once you're educated and you start all of a sudden looking at all this stuff that's going around you, it's just, that's Admiralty, that's Admiralty. I mean, hey, the gold fringe flag is the Admiral's flag, the Commander-in-Chief, and that's why under military principles you will always see a gold fringe flag in any courtroom.
Well, I'm going to bring it to an end.
It doesn't mean that it's a military court.
Right.
It is, because it's controlled by the Commander-in-Chief. And all symbolism has been lost by the majority of the American people today.
Well, we've grown up with it. It's true.
Sure.
And we not questioned it.
And it's just because of the education system that has been rammed down everybody's throat.
Yep.
And now you're getting judges and law clerks and attorneys who are just as dumbed down as the average American is to all these symbolisms and law and old-time history, because when I had the Clemson professor call me up when he was in England, and he says, now, what did you want? I said, I wanted the Treaty of Peace. That's all I want. If you can give me a certified copy of the Treaty of from the library, the London Library, because only law professors can go in. Even if I could get over here, I couldn't go in. And he says, okay. When he came back, and he gave it to the fella that ended up giving it to me, because I couldn't make it down to South Carolina to Clemson at the time. And he says, I couldn't believe it. The professor says, I couldn't believe that I saw a law from 545 A.D. that I know, in fact, exists today and is operating.
English Civil Code of Law.
Yeah, 545 A.D. It was drafted, and it is in operation today. He says, I couldn't believe what I saw in all these old laws that are operating today on the people. And he's a law professor.
Well, okay, then I have to ask you, I mean, when he came back or whenever he digested all this, what was his presumption of the way things are?
He couldn't believe it. He says, I've got to have to rethink a lot of my stances, and he says, what I'm teaching in school is wrong.
It's wrong, that's right. But,
well, that's like the Admiralty book that I got from the law professor down there in University of Texas. When he gave me Robertson,
okay,
and he wrote the book on Admiralty and Federalism, and it's the history and analysis of the problems of federal-state relations in the maritime law of the United States. It was printed in 1970. I didn't get the autographed copy. The other fellow he got the autographed copy. He gave me the copy that he didn't autograph. And he says that he was forbidden to publish this book anymore, and they took it out of the University of Textbook Series. It was a University Textbook Series especially designed for collateral reading by Harry Jones, Professor of Law, Columbia University. And this was made by the Foundation Press Incorporated in Mineola, New York in 1970 of January. And it just goes out and it just lays it out so much as to how this country is operating and has operated under international maritime law, and that is one of the genesises that brought in, and it says, the framers of the Constitution intended to establish jurisdiction and not to prescribe particular codes or systems of law. The constitutional grant of judicial power in all cases, our admiralty and maritime jurisdiction was no more intended to make the rules of maritime law binding upon the federal courts of common law than to make the rules of common law binding upon the courts of admiralty. It's a quote right out of the book on page 190.
So that book has been disappeared.
It's disappeared, yes. Me and about 3 other guys are the only ones that's got copies of it.
I tell you what, we're running a little bit over, but if there is something I wanted to ask you, if you're feeling up to it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have to go anywhere real fast right now.
Okay. Sounds like you're in the bathroom, but that's okay. No.
Not quite there.
No, all right. Well, you did mention something before. And this is something that's probably I'm a little bit more attuned to since having moved down in the South.
Uh-huh.
And what I'm going to say, I don't want everybody to get all crazy and say, well, you think slavery is good. No, I don't. However, there were some, I think, tenets to which the southern states adhered that I think made good sense. And I'll let you address that if you wish. And also, what an absolute screw job the southern states got after being readmitted into the Union.
Oh, yeah.
Now, first of all, do you believe that for whatever, if we were doomed anyway to a certain extent, that at least the southern states had it together as far as wanting to be kind of free of a central government?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Because, remember, the Declaration of Independence is just that. It's a declaration. It's not law. It's not binding upon anybody. It's just what somebody declared. Just like Spooner says, he can go upon the commons of Boston and declare whatever he wants. But that doesn't make it authoritative. It doesn't make it law. It's just those who want to believe what he says, believes what he says, and those who don't want to believe it, they don't have to believe it.
You were saying about...
Yeah, the gross national product of the South was 3 times the North.
All right, restate that. What was the gross national product of the South?
3 times.
As larger than the North?
Of the North. I don't have any particular thing. This is all off the top of my head, so
okay.
I'm trying to remember, and I think it was, if you put a number on it, it would be $3 million a month versus $1 million a month for the North.
All right, so prior to the Civil War, is this correct?
Yes, prior to the Civil War.
The South was kicking the North's butt economically.
Oh, yeah, big time. I mean, the ports of Charleston, forget about New York and Philadelphia ports, Charleston and all the southern ports, Virginia, they had so much more trade from them. Because remember,